The night was cold enough to freeze breath midair when Adam Hale, a 38-year-old single dad and CEO of Hale Tech Industries, stepped out of his car behind the company's warehouse. He wasn't supposed to be there. A late-night meeting had gone wrong, and he needed a moment away from the polished offices, away from the pressure, away from the image everyone expected him to maintain. But he didn't expect that within minutes, something would happen that would change his life forever. Because just behind the dumpsters, curled up on a flattened cardboard box, was a little girl, no older than 8, hugging a small brown dog with trembling paws. Her arms were wrapped around him as if she was the only shield he had left in the world. And when she looked up at Adam, her voice barely more than a whisper, she asked, "Please don't take him away. He's all I have." That single sentence cracked open something inside him he didn't know was still fragile. Adam crouched slowly, his breath catching. The girl's face was pale, smudged with dirt, but her eyes, they were bright. Too bright for someone who'd learned to survive darkness. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Lila," she said. "And this is Biscuit." The dog lifted his head, tail tapping weakly against the cardboard. Adam took off his coat without thinking and draped it over her small shoulders. She held onto it like it was the first warm thing she'd been given in days. "Where's your family?" he asked. A pause. A long, painful pause. "They left," she whispered. He brought her to his car, carefully placing Biscuit in the back seat. Lila kept glancing at him, unsure, scared, and exhausted. It reminded Adam too much of the day he lost his wife, the day his own daughter, Emma, had looked at him with the same fear, the same uncertainty. He drove them straight home. When they arrived, Emma ran down the stairs in her pajamas. She froze at the sight of Lila and the dog. "Dad, who's this?" Adam sighed softly. "Someone who needs our help tonight." To his surprise, Emma didn't hesitate. She wrapped her small arms around Lila, who stiffened, then melted into the hug as if someone had finally turned the world warm again. The next morning, everything changed. While Lila and Emma ate breakfast, Adam made a few calls. He needed to know who she was, where she had come from. But there were no missing child reports. No alerts. Nothing. She was invisible. When she finished eating, Lila looked at Adam with wide, apologetic eyes. "I can work," she blurted. "I can clean or help or anything. Just, please don't send me back outside." Those words shattered him. "You're not going anywhere," Adam reassured her. "But I need to know what happened." What she told him made his chest tighten. Her father had passed away 2 years earlier. Her mother had remarried a man who didn't want a child. And when money got tight, they left. Just left her at a bus stop with Biscuit and never came back. "I tried to find them," she murmured, her voice trembling. "But they didn't want me. So I stayed where people threw their trash. Because sometimes the trash had food." Emma covered her mouth, tears streaming. Adam had to turn away for a moment before he broke too. Adam decided things right then. He was going to give her a home. A real one. But not everyone agreed. His board questioned why Lila was living with him. "She's not your responsibility," one of them said sharply. "She is," Adam snapped back. "And if this company has space to build aerial drones and multi-million-dollar tech, it has space to save one child." It was the biggest argument the board had ever seen, but Adam didn't back down. If they pushed harder, he would have stepped down from his own company. Nothing mattered more than the promise he silently made to Lila that night: she would never sleep on trash again. But the biggest challenge wasn't the board, or social services, or public image. It was Lila herself. Weeks passed, and though she smiled more, laughed more, played with Emma, and slept in a real bed for the first time in years, there was one thing she didn't believe. That she was worthy. One night, Adam heard quiet sobs from her room. He sat beside her and asked gently, "Why are you crying?" She wiped her face quickly. "I don't want to be a problem. I don't want you to regret me." He pulled her close, heart twisting. "Lila, listen to me. You are not a problem. You are a blessing. You have changed this house, changed our lives. You are family." Nobody had said those words to her in a long time. Maybe ever. And for the first time, she believed them. Months passed, and the adoption was approved. The day the judge read the final papers, Lila clutched Biscuit in her arms and whispered, "I finally belong." Emma squeezed her hand. "You always did." Adam lifted both girls into his arms, feeling the weight of every hardship, every tear, every long night, but also the overwhelming joy of seeing a broken story turn into something whole. Adam didn't just give Lila a home. She gave him one too. Because somewhere between the fear and the healing, the loneliness and the laughter, he realized something. Family isn't always given. Sometimes, it is found on a cold night behind a warehouse, curled up on cardboard with a trembling dog. And sometimes, the smallest, most forgotten people are the ones who heal the biggest wounds. Final message. Love doesn't need a perfect beginning to create a beautiful ending. Even broken hearts can find a home again, if someone cares enough to look. The first morning after the adoption, sunlight spilled gently across the Hale residence, stretching over polished floors, soft rugs, and warm corners. But it was the tiny heartbeat pressed against Adam's chest that woke him. Lila had tiptoed into his room before dawn with Biscuit in her arms. She didn't say a word. She just climbed quietly onto the edge of his bed and sat there, as if afraid he might disappear if she blinked. Adam opened his eyes slowly, careful not to startle her. "You okay, sweetheart?" She nodded, hugging Biscuit tighter. I didn't want today to be a dream." Those words struck deeper than any boardroom decision he had ever made. "Dreams end," he said softly. "Family doesn't." Only then did she allow herself to breathe. But even with the adoption complete, healing wasn't simple. That afternoon, Lila refused to leave Adam's side. She followed him to the study, the kitchen, even stood behind him while he worked on his laptop. She wasn't bothering him, she was guarding him, as if afraid something might pull him away. Emma noticed it first. "Dad," she whispered while Lila played with Biscuit, "she's scared you'll leave her. We have to show her she's not temporary." Adam nodded, feeling a heaviness in his chest. "I know," he whispered back. "I just don't know how to make her believe it." Emma smiled gently, a wisdom beyond her years. "By being there. Every time. Until she stops checking." And so, that's what he chose to do. The next test came unexpectedly. Hale Tech was preparing for its annual charity gala, a huge event, broadcast across the country, filled with wealthy investors and influential figures. It was the one night Adam could not miss. He had planned to take both girls. But when Lila saw him in his suit, adjusting his tie in the mirror, something inside her snapped. She rushed to him, grabbed his hand tightly, and whispered, "Are you leaving me?" Her voice shook. Her fingers trembled. Biscuit whimpered beside her. Adam knelt, pulling her into a warm embrace. "Never," he murmured. "You're coming with me, just like Emma." Lila pulled back, confused. "Me?" "Yes, you," he smiled. "You're part of the Hale family now. And we show up together." At the gala, hundreds of lights glimmered overhead. The room buzzed with polite laughter, and cameras flashed at every corner. But the only thing Lila cared about was Adam's hand wrapped around hers. She held on like she was gripping a lifeline. Emma took her other hand proudly, guiding her through the crowd. Yet, the whispers started almost immediately. "Is that the homeless girl the CEO adopted? He brought her here. Poor thing, look at her dress." Adam heard them all. So did Lila. Her shoulders tightened. Her chin dropped. She stepped closer to him, nearly hiding behind his leg. That's when Adam did something he had never done publicly. He picked Lila up into his arms, turned toward the crowd, and said clearly, loudly, "This is my daughter." Silence struck the room like thunder. "And I'm proud of her," he added. "More than I can ever express." Lila froze. Nobody had ever claimed her like that. Nobody had ever stood for her. Her arms slowly wrapped around his neck, and she whispered, "Thank you, Daddy." It was the first time she called him that. And Adam felt his heart crack open in the best possible way. But that night wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Because Lila wasn't just learning how to belong. She was about to show the world why she deserved to. During the gala, a guest accidentally knocked over a serving tray, startling a group of children. Everyone jumped, but Lila reacted differently. She rushed to help the kids, calming the smallest one who began to cry. Biscuit stayed close, wagging gently, making the frightened kids smile. Adam watched her with awe. She wasn't the abandoned child he had found behind a warehouse. She was brave, compassionate, and instinctively protective. The kind of person who had survived darkness and still chose to give light. And suddenly, Adam realized. He hadn't just saved her. She was saving everyone around her. Later that night, as they drove home, Lila leaned her head on Adam's shoulder, fighting sleep. "Do I still get to stay, forever?" she whispered. Adam placed a hand over hers, steady and warm. "Forever," he promised. "And after that, too." For the first time since he'd met her, Lila finally closed her eyes without fear. Because home wasn't cardboard anymore. It was a family who held onto her as tightly as she held onto them.